Ted Jenkins was a monster. There was no better way to describe him. Posing as an ice cream man, he would lure children into his truck. There, he would commit unspeakable acts before stuffing their bodies into the freezer. He had been doing this for years and had never been caught. Although he may be a monster, he wasn't stupid. He would scout out locations weeks before committing his sinister acts. Early into his murderous career, he discovered the best locations were the most isolated, far away from the eyes of adults. Like any predator, he understood his prey. He knew children had a mischievous side, often doing things which they would rather not have their parents know about, lest they be punished. These are common things such as getting into scraps, swearing, trying their first cigarette, etc., etc. Often, children will seek alleyways, derelict buildings, or empty construction sites to partake in these activities. Today, Ted decided he would try his luck in one of the city's rundown alleyways. For the time being, it was empty. But that was fine. Like many good fishermen, he would have to be patient before getting a bite. So he waited. Hours passed without incident. Ted looked at his watch to see that it was nearing 8 o'clock in the evening. The sun was setting, illuminating the sky in a crimson red. Likely all the children in the area were at home having supper with their curfews now in effect. Ted sighed. You win some, you lose some, he grumbled to himself. Just then, he heard a small rapping coming from the side of the truck. He looked out the serving window to see two children before him, a boy and a girl. Both had jet black hair and pale complexions. Well, hello, little ones, greeted Ted. At the sound of his voice, the two children looked up in unison. Ted took a step back in shock. What he saw didn't make sense. Their eyes were completely black. He shook his head in disbelief. Must be a trick of the twilight, he concluded. So, what can I get you? Ted asked aloud, pointing to the menu on the side of the truck. The children's eyes did not look at the menu as they kept their gaze upon him. A little unnerving, thought Ted. Finally, one of them, the boy, spoke. In a very calm voice, he said, "Can we come in?" As much as Ted was delighted that this kid was speeding up the process, he was slightly disturbed. He had never known a kid to have no interest in ice cream whatsoever. Something about this was wrong, he thought, although he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Maybe it was their eyes, but he was trying to convince himself were normal. Maybe it was the calm demeanor of the boy. All children, no matter how well behaved, are twitchy to some extent. Instead, the boy was almost like a statue. Ted was sure that in the brief 30 seconds or so of having laid eyes on him, he never blinked. But perhaps the most disturbing of all was the girl. She was no longer looking at him, but instead looking around the area. Ted knew that look because he had done it many times himself. She was on lookout. It was as if the girl didn't want to be caught. Caught doing what? Ted wondered. "Can we come in?" repeated the boy, this time his tone being slightly demanding. Ted went to the driver's door, resting his hand on the handle. His primal instinct screamed at him not to open the door. But his dark, insatiable desires countered them. He would so hate to go home empty-handed. Ted Jenkins opened the driver's door. For many city blocks away, as children sat down to have dinner with their families, the sound of ungodly screaming could be heard. All predators understand their prey.